Okay, this time we're going to be doing A Nightmare on Elm Street, a game that I don't really enjoy. Very much a mediocre, uninspired platformer. At least with Friday the 13th, there's some things going on with that game. Same with Jaws, even though Jaws is a lot more simple. But this one, it's just a very plain platformer. It is one of the only games compatible with the NES 4-score adapter, but we're just going to be doing the one player. Okay, now the first 3 houses are random. And there's really no big secret to beating this game. You just have to be really good at the first 5 levels. And then, as long as you're not careless with your lives in the last 2 levels, then you should be able to beat it. So this game is basically a slog. And I normally keep track of my score, but I'm not going to be doing that because it's expected that I'm going to use continues and have the score reset, so I'm not too concerned about what my score is going to look like. And get used to those hornets, and get used to the bats, because there's a lot of them. Now this game does draw some inspiration from the 3rd and 4th Nightmare on Elm Street films, because the idea that you get dream powers or dream abilities, that is taken from the 3rd and 4th films, and there's one of the dream tokens down there. The instruction manual lists them as the acrobat, which looks like the track athlete, which is what I'm going to be switching to right now. But there's also the shadow warrior, or which we called the ninja, but the instruction manual calls them the acrobat, the shadow warrior, and the necromancer, which is obviously the wizard. And they are probably based off of the characters from the 3rd and 4th film. The necromancer wizard character probably based off of the character Will from the 3rd film. And the shadow warrior probably based off of the martial arts student in the 4th one, that was Rick, played by Andras Jones, who I'll talk about a little bit in a minute. But the acrobat, the track athlete, probably inspired by, I can't remember her name, but she's the character that gets turned into a bug in the 4th one. The actor that played Rick, his name is Andras Jones, and he had a really cool radio show. He might still have it in Seattle. I think it was called The 8 Ball, or Behind the 8 Ball, or something like that. It was up in the Seattle area. And he's been really good about going to like Comic-Cons and talking about his film. He's become something of a fan favorite from the entire Nightmare on Elm Street series. There's a video on YouTube of him appearing at one of the Comic-Cons, watching his death scene. And if I recall correctly, he kind of shares in the audience's frustration that it was a huge letdown that he didn't get to do the scene with, Freddy Krueger with Robert Englund. Instead, Freddy Krueger is invisible for that scene. He says a ninja needs no eyes, and that was always really disappointing. We should have had Andras Jones fight Freddy Krueger. And one of my biggest frustrations with this game is the hit detection with your projectiles. It seems particularly bad with the Necromancer, the wizard character. But even with the Acrobat, it doesn't seem like it's... I'm just never confident that my hit's gonna register. And though I am complaining an awful lot about this game, I will say that at least you have good control over your jumps. I always feel like I have good control over my jumps, but there are, I believe it's in the high school level, there's a couple of jumps that are really unfair, and you have to be extremely precise with them. And this is definitely one of those games where there are times where you're going to want to take the hit just because it means being able to get through a tough cluster of enemies or being able to make a tough jump. And probably the only other real strategy that you should consider employing is try not to miss any bones. If you miss bones, it's extremely frustrating to have to go back, especially in the later levels, to try to figure out which bone you missed. And these bosses, the ones that bounce, pretty annoying because you have the very useful, the Shadow Warrior is going to be your most useful dream token because of the jump attack. However, even with that jump attack, sometimes, like right there, I feel like I'm getting cheated out of a hit. Okay, now we're at the point where we have to travel all the way to the far side of the map and do the Junkyard level. And I actually, this is probably the only part of the game I don't mind, is doing the Junkyard and the Cemetery. Visually, they're a little bit more interesting, and I think they're even a little bit shorter. But the game does kind of appear to be ramping up the challenge. There's a few more jumps in there that are... I'm sorry, there's a few more jumps in there that are tricky. So one comment I wanted to make about this game is that this was one that was pretty widely available in the collecting days. I don't remember this game being uncommon, even up till a few years ago. If finding a copy of A Nightmare on Elm Street for the NES was not difficult, maybe $15, $20 tops, but sometime in the last 2 or 3 years, we've seen the price on this game really skyrocket. It's taken off up to like $60 or so last I looked, and that one really stuns me because, I mean, it is a 4-score game, and it is based off of a movie license, but I don't remember it being an uncommon game to find. Don't want to miss any of the bones that are kind of tucked away here on the, in between the cars. This Junkyard level, obviously, from the, third Nightmare on Elm Street film. Okay, good. We didn't miss any bones, so I feel like we did well enough on this level. This is one of my least favorite bosses in the game, the Bat, just because I feel like he's got a very narrow hitbox. Okay, did okay on the Bat, so I usually don't do that well on the Bat. The Nightmare on Elm Street series, I was talking about this a little bit during my Friday the 13th playthrough. With the Friday the 13th series kind of being in a bit of trouble. You know, it's been a while since we had a Friday the 13th film. The reboot was in 2008, it's 2021, so, you can do the math. It's the longest we've ever gone without a Friday the 13th, but we're also in that realm with the, Nightmare on Elm Street series. Oh, I wish I hadn't done that. Like, we had the Nightmare on Elm Street reboot in 2010, I think, and it was not good. Didn't even have Robert Englund in it, and, they took a few other liberties that was unpopular with the fans, but it wasn't a good reboot, and now we're... You know, I'm kind of wondering, because I know with Friday the 13th, one of the problem is the original writers are suing each other to try to get the rights to Jason Voorhees and the Friday the 13th series. They're trying to create their own cash cow, and the fans are suffering for it. And I wonder if that's kind of what's happening with the Nightmare on Elm Street. ever since Wes Craven died, we don't really... I feel like we haven't, I don't know, maybe people are suing each other or whatever. But it would be nice to have another good Nightmare on Elm Street film. Okay, this ghost boss, much easier in my opinion than the bat. I feel like the hitbox is bigger. And the Shadow Warrior, as you can see, so useful for taking out these enemies. Okay, so we still haven't burned through and continue, and now we're coming up to level 6, the boarded up house. This is the hardest level in the game, in my opinion. It's also long, and this is where the game gets really tough on you. So, even though I'm having a pretty good run so far, I don't want to get careless and burn through all my lives and make the remainder of the game difficult, but I think we're in good shape. I've never actually played this game with more than one player, but I can imagine this is one of those frustrating two-player experiences because, one, figuring out how to share the power-ups, the dream tokens, is probably annoying, but two, when you miss a jump, if one of the two players misses a jump, then both players kind of get punished. And I'm probably going to fall asleep. I usually do, just because I don't think there's any coffee at this point in the game. And that's fine, because there's a section coming up where I'm probably going to need the necromancer. Not to mention having the Shadow Warrior certainly helps. Being able to use his useful jump kick. And fortunately, I haven't missed any bones. I've been able to get everything on one go. Okay, here's one area where you're going to want the necromancer, because he has a floaty jump. And as soon as I take these bats out, I'll go ahead and wake up. And if you can't tell, the game is kind of getting to the point now where it's trying to get you to make more difficult jumps. And I think the enemies are becoming a little more relentless. I guess one other thing I could say about this game is the music is okay. It's not great, but it's okay. It's certainly better than the Friday the 13th music, which is just there's only like 3 tracks, and one of them is an incredibly short loop. I think I'm about to fall asleep again. And this is the final stretch of this level, which I'm very grateful for because I'm ready to move on and finish the game. This game is fair to the player in that when you die or get game over and have to use a continue, it doesn't force you to start, you know, far away, or what a waste of a life. It doesn't force you to start, you just pick up right where you were. So there are things about this game that do offer a fair challenge. Control is pretty good too. I know I talked about the jump, but also the jump attack, even though it's just that short range punch, it's still I still feel like I have control when I do those very precise jump punches. Okay, that last bone is going to be tricky to get. Okay, that's not too bad, but at the high school there's going to be a couple of jumps. This is the most annoying boss in the game, by the way. I think you want to take out the glove first. And hopefully I can beat them without having to use a continue. Okay, that was, not too bad. Hopefully I do that well on him in the boss gauntlet at the end of the high school level. Okay, right here, I'm gonna want the Necromancer because he has kind of a floaty jump, and this jump right here I honestly don't trust. I think it can be done without the Necromancer, but I don't feel like burning a whole bunch of lives trying to make it. So you just stand here and fall asleep, switch over to the wizard character. It's kind of like in one of my favorite Sega Genesis games, The Revenge of Shinobi. There's a level late in the game, it's the pier level, where if your jump is not 100% precise, you can waste, no matter how good you've been playing up until that point, you can waste a lot of lives. And this is another one where it's very easy to waste your lives. So, on the bright side, at least I've been able to kind of show off using all of the characters. I'm better off with the acrobat on this section. His jump isn't as floaty, so it's a little tighter. And there is the jump rope song. And that's going to be my first continue. So 479,850 points. Maybe with a little practice I could get to the point where I'm capable of getting through the whole game without using a continue. I'm not there yet. But like I said, since this is a game that's more about completing it, and you get to pick up right where you left off, I'm not too concerned about score. Plus, I don't even like this game that much, so as long as I can complete it, I'm fine. And I've got plenty of lives. It's almost kind of like the way I play Final Fight. When I play Final Fight or even Shinobi 3, as long as I can get deep into the game without wasting too many lives, I find I can complete the game without I have enough lives that I can burn through them at the end and still be okay. That is one of the common complaints about this game, though, is that it's more fun when you're playing with the dream characters. But I guess one of the, pro tips for this game is you really have to master playing with the kid without any of his power-ups. I think they're in the instruction manual, they're just called the Elm Street Teens. I kind of wish that one of the Elm Street Teens looked like Kincaid, if anyone remembers Kincaid from A Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 4. And his dream power was super strength. So, we kind of lost an opportunity here. The boy and the girl, or excuse me, there's 2 boy characters and 2 girl characters. The The boy characters look identical and the girl characters look identical. They just wear different colors. I think James and Mike Mondays did a Nightmare on Elm Street with the 4-score adapter and all 4 players before they canceled that show. Now that jump right there is one of the annoying ones. There's 3 or 4 of those in this last stretch of the game before the boss gauntlet. And this is an area where here's another one, where you can really waste a bunch of lives. So close to the end, too. And we'll come back for those bones. And I think we're far enough along that we won't have to fight Freddy in the boiler room. Or, excuse me, we won't hear the jump rope song. We'll still have to fight him in the boiler room, because we are at the end of the game. So I don't mind having the dream power at this point of the game is useful. Okay, we've made it past all the tricky jumps without wasting any lives. Gonna burn through our second continue, which is fine. We still have plenty for the boss gauntlet. And we didn't miss any bones, so we can go to the boiler room and should be okay with the boss gauntlet. The Necromancer for the first couple bosses. Unless I find that I'm not able to hit the little tongues. It seems to be working okay. Now I want to switch to the Shadow Warrior. Next is the bat. So far we're not having a problem with this boss gauntlet, so we're already through all the toughest parts of the game, and we did well enough. not wasting too many lives. Now this is the toughest one, the face and the glove. I really don't have much else to say about this game. I think I covered everything. You know, it's not worth whatever ridiculous price is being asked. It's not that fun. And I guess we'll beat him with the ninja. Sometimes I like to use the necromancer, but this time we'll use the shadow warrior. And it is really silly how when you beat him he just kind of runs away. He doesn't actually... Yeah, he just kind of jumps off and that's it. So yeah, this game is... Not only is it an uninspired platform, but it's definitely a slog. Of course, it has your obligatory bad ending. And now that we've done Friday the 13th and A Nightmare on Elm Street, I think it's only fitting that we finish up with Jaws, so I'll get on that one next. It's very simple. And that's A Nightmare on Elm Street. So... not much else to say about it. Mediocre platformer. So thanks for checking in, and we'll get back at it next time.